Welcome back. My name is Neil Charran, and this is the Gideon Star Chronicler. I wanted to talk to you today about the Rise of Skywalker. I saw it. I liked it. Given everything that's come before, and yes, I do mean The Last Jedi, I believe it's the best you can do, especially considering that you're trying to close out the saga. So if you're trying to make this a 9-story arc, for a single story being told, basically, I believe it was the best you could do, given everything. That being said, if you think about it as a 9-story arc, so the easiest example is Harry Potter. It's 7 stories, 8 if you're into the movies only. You should read the books though; they're actually very good. But there's 7 stories, and you're basically following Harry Potter all the way through. Star Wars is converted now. So we had original Star Wars, the middle 3 were shown to us first, and that was Luke's story arc and the redemption of Darth Vader. Ostensibly, you could sort of say the return of the Jedi is actually the return of Anakin Skywalker, but it also can mean, on a larger scale, the Jedi are now returning under the teachings of Luke Skywalker, or what would be the teachings of Luke Skywalker. Yoda said, "Pass on what you've learned," in Return of the Jedi, indicating that Luke will be a teacher after the movie. And then you get the prequels, and that's more of Anakin turning into Vader. But the whole 9-story arc now, which actually I'm okay with. It's just sort of technically the Rise of Skywalker technically retcons some stuff, fixes some other things from Last Jedi, but technically sort of writes it so that it fits. The narrative now is the 9-story arc is about Palpatine. So we don't meet him in A New Hope. We get a glimpse of him in Empire, and then we get him in fullness in Return of the Jedi. A small scene where he arrives and Vader greets him, and then a larger scene when he there's actually one more scene where I told you to stay on the command ship, and he informs Vader informs him that the small rebel crew is gone to Endor, and he felt his son, and Palpatine's like, "Are you sure? Because I haven't felt him." And it's like, yes. And it's like, are you feeling clear? It sets up a lot in that moment, but then you have the end, basically. So in the prequels, the Phantom Menace is actually Palpatine, who we now know as Darth Sidious, carried through into Attack of the Clones, and then finally Revenge of the Sith. So the ending of the Skywalker saga is the ending of the fight or the battle with the darkness as embodied by Palpatine. And so it technically made sense. I think as a fan, most of us maybe were hoping it was Anakin's arc, because Anakin is the chosen one. He threw Palpatine off of the Death Star, and it seemed to be part of the redemption arc. And if you wanted to take from the hero side, this is Anakin's story, and if you want less so Luke's, and if you wanted to take it from the villain side, it's Palpatine's story. But what the 9-story arc now has sort of declared is that this is about defeating Palpatine, defeating the dark side that Palpatine embodies. Which is wonderful. It's a wonderful choice. It's bold. It's brave. I gotta say that. There is high adventure. I don't know why they did the MacGuffins the way that they did. MacGuffin is something that Hitchcock introduced, which is basically a plot device where you're going after something, but the plot device itself doesn't mean anything. It's just meant to motivate the characters to do something, and it works. Technically, the plot device in A New Hope was the Death Star plans, except maybe you can introduce a new term like MacGuffin positive and MacGuffin negative. It was a MacGuffin positive because it did actually mean something. Technically, MacGuffins are not supposed to mean something. In this particular one, this would be a MacGuffin negative in the sense that it was supposed to lead to something that leads something, and it ended up sort of leading to those things, but you didn't really need it. You only kind of needed one thing, which was to help navigate you to where Palpatine was. But once you were able to successfully navigate it, you could copy it. It was something that was copyable, that was able to that you could have sort of send to everyone to let them know this is how you go. Sort of like once you did the map, your flight could be recorded and then sent to your allies, which is actually pretty neat. Was actually very neat. Plot holes notwithstanding, I really, really enjoyed this movie, which is all you can ask for. So I recommend it. I'll do a little bit more in-depth review after I see it a second time. But I just wanted to let you know that it did what it needed to do, and it did inspire me. It inspired me in the sense that I'm writing a sequel to my book, and I have to be self-aware that I'm telling a single story in many parts. And I need that story to be cohesive. I need that story to stretch the world, stretch the universe, but also abide by the rules that I set up, the rules and values and standards that I set up. I tend to be, so I'll give you this actual little nugget. I tend to be a positive person in general. I tend to, my first book, in fact, is very positive. Most of the world's problems are solved. And actually all our conflict is now coming from the outside. But that outside conflict is now putting, pressure on us, and, inside conflicts are starting to erupt. Humans are again starting to kind of turn back on each other. But, virtually speaking, we're in this wonderful little renaissance period because we've discovered this new energy source. It's given us energy abundance. So things like poverty, just all sorts of different things have been solved. No, the world isn't perfect, but as far as the human race goes and life on Earth, it's very, very much improved. So improved that people are actually able to work together in all those conflicts that we sort of have now, whether it's political or religious or fighting over oil or whatever it is, they're all gone. And so we're introduced to a new external conflict, or it makes the story open when to that, because there's a new external conflict, and that just basically is going to disrupt that harmony. So the sequel now, the second book, is going to go to a darker place. And I know that, and I'm going to give that to you. And you deserve that as an audience. You deserve that as a reader, and as an author, I know where I want to take you. And it's taking me time to get through it because I do want it to be good. One little tidbit on your first novel, especially self-published first novel, and I'm going to say even to a certain degree the second, you're forgiven for a lot. I had the book beta read. I had help editing it, and even after I published it, people were finding typos. Luckily, because of the way that online publishing is, I can always update and go in and change it, which is actually a wonderful thing when you think about it as a first-time person doing this independently of publishers, or a team that can help me, sort these things out. It's just sort of basically me. Which another thing, little tidbit, writing is a very lonely soul process. And because of that, it's actually very difficult. That being said, we as a community, we can't help you write what you want to write, but we can support you There's so many different ways that we can reach out to you. So never feel that you're alone, and never feel that anything you have to say or write isn't worthy of being said or written. That's just not true. They are always, always worthy. There's always a place for you. There's always a place for your writing. This world takes all. This world makes all. This world includes all. There's so many different ways. There's 7 billion people on this planet. You don't need all 7 billion people to, although it would be wonderful, you don't need all 7 billion people to be your audience. You just need a very significantly small portion. 1 million would be absolutely fantastic, to be quite honest. But and if you think about that, 7 billion 1 million out of 7 billion is amazing. So never limit yourself in that way. Always understand what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. And we'll talk more about that as well. But that was my Rise of Skywalker review, with some non sequiturs in there. I look forward to talking to you guys next time, and please always remember to keep writing.